Marcus Maidana has officially announced his retirement from the sport of boxing. This certainly comes as no surprise to me. I did a video a few days after Maidana's rematch with Floyd Mayweather. And I can't remember the title of the video exactly, but it's still up on this channel if you want to look it up. I did a video a couple days after that Mayweather rematch. And in the video I was saying that I don't think Maidana's ever going to fight again. Because he's had such a hard career, Maidana. Been in so many tough fights. It was such a long road to the top for Maidana in terms of being involved in fights which paid him life-changing sums of money. So when he got those two back-to-back Mayweather fights, this is a guy from Argentina. Argentina is still kind of considered, I think, a third world country. The amount of money that he would have made off the Mayweather fights will go a very, very long way in somewhere like Argentina. Maidana is not a gym rat. This is something I'd heard about him for a very, very long time. He was somebody who would blow up in between fights. He would gain weight. This is a guy who apparently liked going out and eating and being in bars and clubs and restaurants and stuff like that, living the good life. Even way before the Mayweather fight. So this is what I was hearing about the guy. And that's certainly the way he came across to me, as that type of character. And as I say, he'd been in so many tough fights over the years. You know, the war with Victor Ortiz. I mean, God, he was in so many wars. You look at the Broner fight, was a tough fight. Even Eric Morales' fight was a tough fight. Obviously, the Khan fight was the guy was in loads and loads of tough fights. And for somebody who don't really like all the training, and somebody who's come up the hard way, real blue collar fighter, loads of tough fights, really had to pay his dues before he got the serious money. That's the kind of guy who tends to do what Maidana did. You know, when they do get paid that serious big money and they can retire and kick back in Argentina, where's the motivation for a guy like that to fight again? You see somebody like Floyd Mayweather, his mindset, his mentality is totally different. The circle that he moves in terms of his friends and associates, is very, very different to a Marcus Maidana. Marcus Maidana don't strike me as the kind of person who hangs around with all types of different celebrities. And, you know, to me, he don't strike me as somebody that moves in that type of circle, in those type of circles. So he looks around him and he's probably like by far the wealthiest person in his circle, whereas Floyd Mayweather isn't. Right? Floyd Mayweather moves around people who are even wealthier than he is. So I think for a long time that motivated Mayweather to try and be, you know, if not the wealthiest guy in his circle, closer to some of the other people in wealth. And you know, also Floyd Mayweather was very ego driven, and most fighters are ego driven to a certain extent, but I always got the impression with somebody like Maidana, it was more money driven than ego. You know, particularly after he lost a couple fights, then it was just, you know what, let me just make this money. When he lost to Devon Alexander, Marcus Maidana said he was contemplating retirement then. So if he's contemplating retirement after he loses to Devon Alexander, once he was able to come back, obviously he hooked up with Robert Garcia and he managed to revive his career. But even the road to getting the Broner fight was tough. I already mentioned the Morales fight. I mentioned the actually, was the Morales fight before or after the Alexander fight? I can't remember now. But either way, he had the fight with Josecito Lopez. He had the fight with Jesus Soto Carras. The Soto Carras fight was a very tough fight for Maidana. Go watch that fight again. Maidana was hurt in that fight. That was a tough fight for him. So to go through all that he's been through and finally get the big money, I always, you know, I felt in my bones that we were never going to see this guy fight again. I felt that straight after the Mayweather rematch, that we'll probably never see this guy in the ring again. And as I say, he's now formally announced the retirement. He has given the sport of boxing a hell of a lot of entertainment. He's left it all in the ring. This guy, some may even call him an overachiever, but certainly he's somebody who fought the best fighters that he could fight. You know, there was only really one fight that he ducked, as far as I know of, and that was Keith Thurman. But other than Keith Thurman, he fought everybody he was supposed to fight, and he gave 1,000,000% in a boxing ring. And for that, I can only wish him all the best in retirement. And in some ways, it's kind of sad to see him retire because he is still fairly young, and you would imagine he could still be involved in some good fights. But if the fire is no longer there, which it obviously isn't for Maidana, then as a boxing fan, I'd rather see him bow out on a high. Even though he lost 2 fights to Mayweather back-to-back, he didn't disgrace himself in those fights by any means. He did better against Mayweather than many other opponents have, including Canelo Alvarez. So, yeah, I wish Maidana all the best. He did a great service to boxing, provided us with loads of entertainment, thrills and spills over the years. So I just take my hat off to him, salute, and hope he enjoys that money in his retirement. That's how boxing is supposed to be. Fighters are supposed to retire with their health intact, with their faculties intact, with loads of money in the bank, so they can go kick back and enjoy their lives with their family, do whatever they're doing, investing in property and, all that other kind of stuff. So, yeah, those are my thoughts and feelings on Marcus Maidana. Let me know some of your favorite Maidana moments in boxing. I know a lot of people are going to point to the Adrian Broner fight, or also to the Khan fight. For me, I still remember the Victor Ortiz fight. What a terrific battle that was. Both guys hitting the canvas multiple times. It was an absolute war. That's still one of my Marcus Maidana highlights. That's really the coming out party for Marcus Maidana, was the Ortiz fight, because Ortiz was very highly touted. Going in, he was the one who was supposed to win that fight, if you understand what I mean. That was supposed to be a showcase for Victor Ortiz against a fairly basic Argentinian fighter. That's how it was viewed by Ortiz's people, in my opinion, at least. So, yeah, let me know some of your favorite Maidana moments, and let me know what you think about him as a fighter and news of his retirement. All right? It's your boy Hatman. I'm out.